Hi, welcome to the Please Bear With Us podcast, where we talk about family, friends, faith, and anything in between. Here we are. This is it, first podcast.
First one in.
It's hard to believe. It's exciting. I think we act a little bit crazy in general, so we'll see where this goes, huh, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Took about almost a month to finally get our schedules all lined up to meet. But
I mean, to think about it, to go from like just the thought and idea of it to have a month later, that's not bad.
yeah,
Right.
It's 3 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
So
Well, that first conversation we had about it, I mean, I think within about 2 days, we're like, when are we going to get started? So
it was definitely exciting. I mean, to get started and get going. It's just a matter of finding the time.
yeah, that's probably going to be the most difficult thing. So guys, we need you all to please bear with us. So that is one of the key ingredients of our podcast was finding the name, and I feel like that was one thing that we came up with was like, hey, we're going to be novices at this in some ways, so please bear with us. And I mean, I also had another thought about it, but I don't know if you guys did, but I wanted to make sure we all knew that just like please bear with us, as in bear one another's burdens, because we're here together. It's Joey, Scott, and I, Tyler, myself, me, myself, and Irene.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think we looked at that, and this all comes back basically a campfire story. So we were to set a little bit of the stage here. The three of us were at an event together, and at this point, I knew Tyler, and Scott and I really didn't know each other. We met each other kind of as a result of this, I would say, right? But there was some banter about a podcast, and I told Tyler, I said, yeah, I want to do that. I've always wanted to. This is awesome. I just think there's so many opportunities with it. And one of us said something, and the comment came out about people just have to bear with us, And I think, like Tyler said, it's not just about the conversation we have; it's about who we are, and that's really the root of this, I would say, right? So then what happened? You and I have this conversation, and then you're like, "Well, we got to go meet somebody."
Yeah, so I wanted to introduce Joey to Scott, and Scott and I knew each other from a small group in church, and so I was like, man, I feel like 3's the magic number. I was in a podcast formerly, I think is the way to say it, and I just felt like, hey, we need one more. And I felt like Scott was the perfect fit. And so there's a lot of pressure there, Scott.
I was going to say, I got a lot to live up to.
Yeah.
But, Scott's a guy you meet him, you look at him,
one.
he's got this, like, charisma about him. There's something about him. He's got this beard.
I just shaved.
He
3 inches off
dresses
my
this
beard
certain
today.
way. The dude's got it. And around a bonfire, he glows. No pun
Jeez.
intended.
Yeah. It's a lot to live up to, so we'll see how it goes. But it's just funny because after the bonfire, you had mentioned that you had 3 sons, and I had, because we keep kids on regen for my wife and I for church, and you guys aren't in that, but we keep kids, and I think I'd kept your 3 sons 1 week, and I was like, what a small world, that 100 so people in the church, and just happened to be the same person's dad that I had met that kept their kids. But yeah, it's just a small world. And I think I'd met your wife, but never you. I guess your wife picked the kids up, but interesting kids.
They're wild. 3 boys, right? So I think, I guess, right, and you mentioned this earlier, Tyler, like we should probably, who are we? Who are these crazy
Right.
guys? There's 3 guys here talking, So
Yeah.
who are we? So start with you, right? I think
Okay.
Tyler is the brains of the operation.
Yeah, the mother of the.
Yeah.
I'd say the father, technically.
Well, I don't. Depends if it's a
Birthed
weekend
it.
or not, right?
Yeah, so you birthed it. So
Yeah. There were
That's
labor
not a fat
pains.
joke, right?
No, it is a fat joke. But yeah, so just because I have a food baby, went to the local restaurant and came back full. So, but yeah, my name's Tyler. I love technology. It's one of my favorite pastimes. I did video gaming for a very long time on various platforms and stuff, with some success, but wouldn't say that is my. For a while, it was my dream job, and I got to try to accomplish it, and it didn't work. And so I will tell you that people who do act as content creators, that is a very difficult job. And I would say that it's not for the faint of heart, and it requires a lot of financial output. You got to have some income coming in, or else that business isn't going to succeed. And yeah, so that's what I used to do, content creation. And then I am bipolar, so learned that over the last 10 years. And so that's a pretty big influence in my life, just learning how to deal with that, the struggles of mental health as well as the joys. I mean, I've met tons of people like Joey here and Scott just because of my mental health getting better and or worse at times. But yeah, so that is kind of me summed up as, hey, I played video games and then found out I'm bipolar and a bunch of junk happened, and we'll get into that one day. 'Cause it's a sweet story, but it has a lot of craziness in the details.
it's unique,
And
that's for sure.
yeah, and so I'm thankful to God to be here today, and just the road He has taken me is not one I expected, but definitely one that I will never forget. But yeah, how about you, Scott?
Let's see. I work in real estate. I'm not a realtor, but I do a different segment of the real estate process. I have a wife and child. She'll be 3 in January, and I've got another one on the way. A son this time.
Woohoo!
Scott,
Exactly.
do we have, like, we're getting close, right, though? So
January.
Yeah, that's
son will be
awesome.
born
That's
January
awesome.
too. So the son is actually due a day after my daughter's birthday, unfortunately for her. Hopefully she doesn't hold a grudge her whole life having
It'll
to
be
share
a
a
gift.
birthday.
It'll be a gift.
It'll be a gift, but when she's 10 and he's 7, are they going to resent each other for having to share a birthday? And it's January, so they can never have an outside birthday. It's always something either at the house or out somewhere. But she's a good kid, and she hopefully will love him. And but otherwise, I do not have bipolar that I know of. I do have anxiety attacks from time to time, just for specific things, not random. I know, when to expect them. It's another thing we'll get into probably at a different point. I'm sure my wife gets sick of it, but I guess could be worse. It's just a quirk that I deal with, and it's only been the last 3 or 4 years since I've, fooled with it really, but I just push through it. I would take, CBD and all that stuff, and I covered it up a lot with alcohol, and I don't drink anymore. I'm it's been over a year, almost 2 years now, I think.
Wow.
Awesome.
Wow.
So I'm sober, so no CBD or anything. So, it's interesting. It's funny that get made fun of, for not drinking, which it's weird to think that, people, when I say I'm not going to have anything to drink, they look at me like I'm out of place or something, but I don't know. It's hard to explain, I guess, when, they give me a hard time, like, oh, yeah, you found Jesus, right? I'm like, yeah, of course. That's not the reason I quit drinking. I mean,
Right.
Christians drink, it's fine, but it's just one of the reasons. I just know, I don't want my daughter to be around it, because what we do in moderation, they'll do in excess, because that's the baseline.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm drinking 4 beers a night, that's normal for her. So she'll be like, well, what's 5? That's only one more than Dad drinks. So I just realize it's not enough, and that's one of the funny things my wife and I always poke back and forth as, because she made me pour all my liquor down the sink. I had like $600-$700 in liquor I had to pour down the sink. Old scotch, old cognac, all that stuff, and
Worth it.
I'm not
but-
salty about it, of course.
Yeah.
Well, the strength, but we all have different vices,
Right.
And, like, I do enjoy beer on occasion. One of the big parts of what we're doing here is transparency. So I
Right.
think there's often this facade that Christians are perfect. Please bear with us, because we're not, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Back to this whole idea. So, and there's times where I probably had one too many drinks, and not proud of that, but I'm a human being. But the vice is different for everybody, and how that some people struggle more with it, and it's okay. There's plenty of things we all struggle with, and we'll I'm sure we'll just learn a little bit about that and share.
Yeah,
Right.
once we get around to our testimonies, it'll be interesting to really get involved and dig deep with that. But otherwise, I guess I play video games from time to time. I used to skateboard. I'm too old to skateboard now. If I fall or something, I'm down for like 2 weeks, so I don't risk it anymore. My major pastime now is Lego. Do a lot of Lego. Don't say Legos. That's not the plural. I found that out.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah, so-
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
It's
getting
weird. Yeah.
Getting cultured here.
I think like Reese cup. It's actually Reese's cup.
Really.
I think if there's an S, I don't know. I think it's the same type of thing though. So
Yeah, it's weird to say, yeah, I'm going to go build Lego. I guess
it's
like the
different.
brand, yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, I remember
Not
I
to be
put something
confused-
on him.
Sorry,
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say not to be confused with Lego My Ego.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah, that would not be a good breakfast. But yeah, that's my major pastime, but the prices keep going up, and it's tough.
Inflation, right?
Yeah,
Inflation.
exactly.
you eat pieces of brick for breakfast? Lego, Lego My Ego.
But that's about it. I mean, right now is the best time of the year because they have all the Christmas sets coming out, and we always get one. And we take the old ones apart every year and just throw them in a big bucket. So, you've got thousands of pieces you got to search through to build. Because they come in bags by about 100. So then now you have to reach through 1,000, and it's fun. It helps with my anxiety, too, when I'm doing that, focusing on doing it. So it's more meditative, too. So that and apologetics, I guess. I'm a babe in Christ, I guess. It's been a little over 2 years, but I jumped full on in the deep end, so I love it. Big philosophy guy. College, philosophy, English were my 2 things, so that's about it for me.
That's great.
That's awesome. I think it's interesting hearing both of you guys. We're learning a lot about each other as we do this and getting to know each other, and I think that's another awesome part of this. But Tyler mentioned bipolar, and we've got anxiety. I also think I share a lot of that anxiety, different reasons, but my name's Joey, so there's that. Married to my high school sweetheart, and I will share, Mary and Joseph jokes do happen quite a bit there, so I will share that. We've got 3 little boys, rotten to the core, but incredible, best thing ever. By trade, I self-proclaim as what we would call a nurse, which is a male nurse, working in and around emergency medicine now for, since 2008, 2009, somewhere in that range. Love my job. Love the challenge of it. Boy, do I have some stories. Tyler and I, I'll share. We first met kind of unknowingly through my profession and his world, which is really, really cool.
But I have my own world. That's the truth.
But really, and we'll hit on this later, but I think it's really cool that our stories are all intertwined, either through an interaction that led to a lot of conversation with your mom and dad, or you watching my kids and nurture. God's got a plan, God's got a purpose in everything we do. And he puts people in front of us, around us, and near us, with very much intent. And I think it's really cool to just see how some of those, we'll call them Lego, right? How those pieces are starting to come together.
Yeah, the building blocks are building.
Yeah. So I was always an athlete growing up. I love sports. Favorite video game was Madden or NASCAR. A little bit of hillbilly in me. Sorry. You can take the boy out of the country, not the country out of the boy, right? Pastime, love Civil War history, love carpentry,
Really?
building things, just learning about how to do different things. You can call me a pumpkin spice girl. I do like pumpkin spice, and yes, when it comes out, I start. So no judgment there.
Yeah.
Okay, fellas.
So you're
so basic.
Yeah, very. But at the same time, you only have so long because it's November now.
That's right.
And so what's
Probably February, right? That's a peppermint. And all
Christmas.
Yeah.
You can go through Christmas now.
Oh, yeah,
Pumpkin
it's
pie
peppermint, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
but they have a frosted sugar cookie thing going on Christmas time. So anyhow, we'll learn about that too. So you guys can all pick on me for that one. But I my life's not perfect, anywhere close to it. Man, the hardest thing I've ever done is being a dad of 3, being a husband while you're being a dad. My wife's incredible, and she puts up with me. I think we hear that a lot, but it's truth. But
that's for sure.
at the same sense, there's always a challenge. I stress a lot about money. I'm sure we'll talk about money at some point. That's a lot of my anxiety is coming from that. I'm a control freak. I'm pretty OCD with things, and I'm a little ADHD. And if you guys can't tell, or if you've not picked up on that, but they say that makes a good ER nurse. So, that's a little bit about me in a nutshell. There's a lot more to it as well. The layers are deep.
Like an onion.
Like an onion. They stink like an onion too sometimes.
Yeah. That's the truth.
So Tyler, what I'm sitting here and I'm going to. I was driving here tonight, so I want to ask a question.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
I this is pretty off cuff, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's kind of fun, and I think because we'll call it season, right? Halloween. We just had Halloween and spooky things, but in life in general, we're gonna get pretty serious pretty quick here. I think, we all have fears. So my question is, I want to know what's everybody's biggest fear? What's your greatest fear?
Wow. So mine has kind of changed. My fears used to be very very much world-based. And what I mean by that, it's kind of a Christianese term. But I used to be afraid of demons, and not that you should have a healthy, respect, I guess, because they are out there and stuff like that. But really and truly, what I learned with my latest dealings with bipolar is that my greatest fear is the Bible talks about "Depart from me, for I never knew you," and that is the one that gets me, because it's you did the works, you casted out the demons, you talked in the name of Christ and stuff, and then it's but you never knew me, you didn't have a relationship with me, and so for me, I was thinking that I was in reality with my mania. And so when I hit when medicine started working for my mania and I started getting back to normal, on a scale of like 1 to 100, I was probably like a 250 off the wall in terms of hallucinations and delusions and stuff like that. And then now I'm back within, like, not having delusions. I have like reminiscent, like, vibes, I guess, or it's like, oh, I used to think that, now I don't. And it's like, well, praise the Lord. But and there is, but yeah, that is my biggest fear, is being cast out, because I was like solely focused on like me instead of the Lord's work and doing it, like having the relationship that he wants me to have with him. And so that I tried to explain it, but the bipolar piece, why that was important, is because I thought I was good and I really wasn't. And then it rocked my Christianity to the core, because my growth, actually Scott and I talked about this the same night at the bonfire, but like, if you imagine when you get saved, or accept Christ as your Lord and Savior, if there was like a temple that just like appeared in your heart, or something like just imaginary, maybe it's a tent because you're only 5 years old or whatever, like, but like, I had let stuff in to my temple that was like dark and demonic, and like, I wasn't worshiping Satan or anything like that, but it's just like, when you're manic, you believe false beliefs. And so like, it rocked my world when I got back to normal, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, it was like my awakening, basically. And so that's my biggest fear. But I think I've conquered it, in terms of like, I don't want to live a life that is like that. But at the same time, Christ has generously and graciously accepted me into his family and adopted me in. And I don't take that for granted either. And so that's me.
Kind of offshoot from that. It's not really, I guess, not fear-based, but I always wonder when you see like the big, huge stadium tours and stuff like that, and the big, huge grassroots revivals and all that stuff, where, you know, thousands of people come down to the altar call and get saved and stuff like that, is how many have a relationship after that, rather than just like the peer pressure to come down? You know, how many get discipled after that? How many actually open a Bible after that? How many repent and, you know, turn away from their sin? Or how many just go back to living life the next day? You know, just because I don't know, it's kind of a thing I have as a pet peeve, I guess, is, you know, you say the Romans Road or whatever, the sinner's prayer, then, you know, you think you're good.
I think it has merit. I mean,
that's the way to go. But I mean, if you don't ever change your lifestyle, if you don't ever bear the fruits of repentance, then
yeah, that's where the part for me, I never knew you, comes in. Like, it's scary, and I don't want to be in that spot. And I think it's a healthy, I don't know, maybe it's a healthy fear to have. Like, I don't want to hold my life over that anymore, but at the same time, it's like, I need to make sure I'm doing what's right. And
well, you know, Tyler, I think both of you guys on this, that's really cool. I would say when we all three answer this question, one thing the common denominator is, we have to trust God. You have to trust God's word, because God's word does tell you you're forgiven, right? Mm-hmm. You're his son, right? He's with you. He will never depart from you, right? But it's hard because we're not good enough. We'll never be good enough. We're not perfect. So that's one of the big things we just talked about, right? We'll never be perfect enough. Doesn't even exist, I should say, right? So I think we get caught in that mud puddle a lot, and we start spinning a lot because we're so worried that, oh, I'm not who I need to be. How would how would God love me? How would he not boot me out? But I do think that he's got us. He's got you. You don't have to worry about it, But that's hard. That's part of spiritual growth, which we all struggle with. So, Scott, I want to turn that question to you now.
Biggest fear. My biggest fear, I think, is it's going to be a fleshly fear, I guess, or earthly fear is what you said, right?
I said worldly.
Worldly.
But
I guess it's all interchangeable, but
yeah.
It's just my mom and dad split when I was 10, and my mom raised 3 boys and a girl by herself, and we just had nothing. We just never had anything, and I don't want to do that to my family. I don't want to go to bed, if I have to go to bed hungry, that's fine, but I don't want to not be able to provide for my family, or I don't know if I ever would, just because, my dad was such a poor example of it, and I've forgiven him, of course, but just he never came around to ask if any of us needed anything or anything, and he would always brag about getting paid under the table so he didn't have to pay child support and this and that, and he would pay, I think, $50 a month maybe in child support for 4 kids, which wasn't even enough for school lunches, for the day, let alone anything else. And for whatever reason, the one thing I remember above everything else is we never had paper towels. It's something, crazy and silly to look back on, but I mean, I get choked up thinking about it now, but like my mom, had to work full time, had to work another job during the holidays, to help us buy stuff and stuff like that. But just never having paper towels, I just don't want ever to have my wife or my daughter and soon to be son to never have to be without, which it's silly to think of because anything can happen at any time, but I just don't want, in my power, I don't want to do what my dad did, because I just remember something really stuck with me. Someone posted, it said, be who you needed when you were younger. Mm-hmm. And that always stuck with me. So that's what I've always strived to do, is just to be who I needed when I was 10, when my dad left. So that's my biggest fear, is just not having enough to keep them safe, keep them fed, and keep a roof over their head, and it's tough. I mean, we're not hurting for money, but I don't ever want to have to encounter that again. So do what I got to do, I guess.
It's interesting. I can relate a lot to what he's saying, because and mine, I don't want to jump in too quick, but mine is very similar, maybe more broad, because mine's a fear of failing. And one of my fears with that of failing is failing my family, right? Failing at work, failing financially. And right now times are hard. I mean, inflation, yeah. I've heard stats. I don't know. Groceries are up 81%. Fuel we know is up, but times are tough. Mm-hmm. More credit debt than we've ever seen, times are tough, but if I can totally relate to that. And I grew up similar, divorced family, mom pulling us in a wagon to daycare, eating a lot of oatmeal, macaroni and cheese.
Mm-hmm. Hot dogs.
Some awesome, hot dogs. Vienna sausages were great. I still like Vienna sausages, by the way, but I think a lot of fears do stem from childhood, from, letdowns we experienced. And I'm sure we'll hear about a lot of letdowns as we talk about this. My dad had a lot of struggles, but a lot of redemption late in his life. But my fear stems, like I said, purely on I do not want to let somebody down. I do not want to fail somebody. And then it's this chain reaction of I analyze every word that's said. Did I make you mad? Are you mad at me? I do it to my wife all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Does my boss think that I suck at my job now? Did I not do a good enough job? And it's this constant analytical brain that is working, and it's creating anxieties that I probably don't need to deal with. And at the end of the day, it's probably like a lack of faith, if truth be told, right? Because God numerous times says, "Fear not."
So do you think it's an overreaction to stuff, or do you think it's
absolutely
okay? That's not justified. The way
no. I think I bring a lot of it on myself, and my wife is total opposite. She's like, chill out, right? Like, God's got this, right? Yeah, and it's that analytical brain working. It's that there's desire and there's drive that comes with that, but it's a double-edged sword and it's a slippery slope if you're not careful. And I've gotten better with it because I think I've learned to see the good, and I've learned to listen when God speaks. And it might be through a song, through an interaction. But yeah, it's definitely a vice. It's definitely a vice. That's another cool thing to talk about.
Yeah, I think I've noticed that too. Is even though I have the fear of, I guess, being broke or poor, I long story short, my mom is the owner of the company I work for, and she wants me to take it over or be a co-owner with her. But at some points when the real estate market was crazy, she was working 70 hours a week, and that's not a thing I'm going to do. 40 hours a week max. I got to spend time with my family in the morning, at night, make sure I put my daughter to bed. That's why we started so late tonight, so I can put my daughter to bed. And I don't want to miss anything if I don't have to. It'd be a different story if, we had pennies and I had to work a second job after she went to bed. But I am not going to miss that opportunity to spend time with my family, because my memory is really bad for my teenage years and my early 20s. We'll get into that a different time. But I remember the time spent with my family, not what I got or, gift-wise or anything like that. But my mom always waking us up, my mom always putting us to bed, stuff like that, and always being there other than when she was working. But it's another thing, I remember her always working to help pay bills. So I just want to make sure that I'm there. And my wife, she, they want her to move up, but she's 8 to 5. As soon as 5 o'clock comes around, she shuts her laptop, shuts off her work phone, and that's it. So that we have that family time, so that can't be bothered, because it's important to us. So,
that's it's a great thing, and it's a big commitment though too.
Yeah.
In today's, especially in America,
the hustle culture and everything.
Yes. Wanting to work. Hey, can you work an extra hour? Can you work an extra 2 hours? Can you be on call? There's so much to it. My family also, my mom and dad were extremely hardworking, and it afforded us nicer things, but at the sacrifice of just events. It's well, where's mom? Well, she's working. Well, where's dad? Well, he's working, or whatever. There was a lot to it and I love my parents, and my parents love me, but at the same time, and my mom would tell you this because she runs her own business. She's like, I dedicated too much time in my early years to the business and not enough to working on my family and stuff. Yeah. And
kids get into some bad experiences when there's no adult supervision around.
Yeah. Thankfully, we didn't get into as much trouble.
That's good.
But it was more like, what I'll tell you, something that was always my downer was like waiting after basketball practice or something like that. Now, typically not basketball practice. I said that, but then I thought about it, and like my dad was there for basketball because he coached. But it would be like after school, and it's like, hey, we're supposed to be picked up at 2:30, and it's 3:30, and it's like, where's mom? Well, mom got stuck at work. And so you are going to hang out with the detention kids today. And so that happened. And so and that's just like such the balance of life, like, is so difficult. And I don't want to hold that against them either.
Which is crazy that us three all have different backgrounds, but they're all the same. Like, parents were busy, you know.
So similar.
Yeah.
I thought it was admirable that he was like, I can't come till 9 o'clock. Like, I got to get my kid to bed. And, you know, I've got 3 boys, and it's like I come home, and I said, I was never an angry person, but, man, I get angry at my boys, and I can't stand it. But
you're angry at yourself, too.
Angry at yourself,
yeah.
you know, and but you put so much effort and energy through your day. And because, you know, I left one job. I'm in leadership. I do I lead a department, and I've done it now for several years, but I left one job, and there's a clear calling there for me to be a leader, but it's having to find those sweet spots of where can that balance be. I lost my dad. We'll talk about that. And then I finally listened. And I left the job that was requiring 60, 78 hours a week because it wasn't worth it. And I'm still, at times, I still struggle with it. I still let it pull me away, and I still let it pull energy away. But then you go home, and there's the hustle and bustle at home. There's the crazy kid screaming and yelling. There's the kid crying. There's the kid mad that he's not getting his iPad. That was the fight tonight. But, you know, you have to appreciate it, and you have to absorb it, and you have to be intentional. And I think, Scott, you're being intentional with that. I think that's really cool. Don't lose that. That's an attribute that I will tell you a lot of times it's easy to lose.
It's I don't know. I don't know. It must be my personality or what, but my wife works from home most of the day, you know, most of the time, and she keeps my daughter Tuesdays and Thursdays all day when I go into the office. So, you know, and so by the time I get home, I want to take over because she's already had to work her full-time job and keep a almost 3-year-old busy.
It's 2 full-time jobs.
Yeah.
And I'll say this because my wife's not here. She'll hear it, but God's honest truth. Moms have a 10 times harder job than we have.
Yeah.
You know, our job, our role, you know, God spells that out. We're to lead our family and provide for our family. But in the home, man, the role of a mom, and, you know, the impact that our moms have had on our lives over the years, and to think now as we're growing up and married or getting married, and you know, it's just, you don't even always get to show that appreciation because I think you get so stuck in that.
I don't know if we could ever, no matter what we could do, could ever show them, you know, the amount of appreciation that they deserve.
Yeah.
It's just,
I think Arnold Schwarzenegger tried once tried to show. Never mind.
Yeah, he's going down a wormhole here.
Yeah.
So, but tonight, a good example. My wife, you know, I told you guys my vice. One of my vices is money, and it's fear of letdown and control. But it's like, I'm going to. She cuts hair. I'm going to take most of next week off and just get this house back in order because, you know, kids destroy everything, and I heard it and didn't really respond to it. Like, that's a great idea. And she called me out on it, and probably rightfully so. But I'm like, what a jerk, you know, and I smarted off. But it's like, it's so, you get caught up in that moment. And my head went to the money part of that. And that's terrible. Shouldn't have to feel like that, right? But that's that worry. That's that you got to step back. You got to trust. You got to have faith, right? Because, and we talked about this before, and I'm going to go ahead and ask the question. We said, if it comes up, we'll bring it up. But there's this thing called the Facebook family. It's what I like to call it, and I think we discussed a little bit of that. But this facade is what it really is, right? But it's this image of a family, maybe in their white T-shirts and denim, and maybe they're getting this picture in this beautiful wooded lot or home. There's a picket fence involved usually with that picture. Am I right?
Yeah.
There's probably a puppy dog, and the dog
lens
is
flare.
yeah
for the
and
graphic
the
designers.
filters and the skin is dead on, right? But that family, does it exist?
I mean, I feel like there's hope in it in terms of there are some people that use Facebook because they can't see their family. Like I have family that live several states away, and the only time they see updates is when we post pictures or something like that. And so they're like, "Hey, I get to like kind of keep in touch or keep involved through the picture taking." But I could just as easily just send the picture to them if I really thought about it, instead of just like posting it onto a social media site. And but I think there can be, I mean, there's gratification involved. And that's where I feel like there's so much comparison, and that's what takes it away, in my opinion.
Well, and sometimes it's an unrealistic expectation, because I've always looked at it like, and this sounds terrible. This sounds terribly judgmental. I'm just going to put that out there.
That's
There's
okay.
people I know that I'm like, you took that picture and you want people to think that's your life. Your life's a hot mess because I know you and I know your life. And some of that makes me feel better because my life's a hot mess, right? Because I've got these 3 crazy boys and this house that's destroyed all the time. And, you know, this bickering back and forth with my wife, which, by the way, we have an incredible relationship and I love her to pieces. But it's a mess. You know, we're all a mess. So, I mean, what is your thought on this
The
topic?
Facebook family?
Yeah, the Facebook family.
I think it's, just a fake, it's whatever people want you to see. It's a controlled output, I guess is what you would call it, where, they only let you see what they want you to see. And I don't know if that's ever achievable, just because, like you were saying, no one is perfect, but it's a nice. But I don't know. It seemed like it'd be too. I wouldn't say boring, because it's it'd be nice to live that way. But if my wife's gone and my daughter's gone and the house is clean, it's boring. You're like, I want the kids running around screaming because you miss it.
What next? Like,
exactly.
What am I going to do? I'm twiddling my thumbs.
Yeah.
I think it's a big reason, and I pose that question because that's a big reason I want to do this, is I think, and I think we all do, I think we've all talked about this, but the idea of sharing life, the truth of life. And it might be the celebrations and the great things and the picket fence, right? And then it might be the messy things, and it might be the things in between, and it might be the bad day. And I think that's why I bring that up, because I think it's inspired me in my mission in life as well. I always say my mission is to make a difference. So I think it's cool, and it gets into topics like something we can talk about at some point: double-fisted faith, right? Faith when things are good and going awesome, but then the hardest time to have faith when things really stink, right? When money's tight, or things aren't going our way, or there's terrible things happening in the world around us. So
yeah, and that double-fisted faith comes from a book. The book is called Rooted, I believe, and so that's like a free publicity. I can't even say the word, but
we are not sponsored by the makers.
We are not sponsored by them,
nor by the Dr. Pepper or Coke Zero sitting on our table right now.
Yeah,
I
but
wouldn't turn it down. But
yeah, oh yeah, of course. But it's just anything to educate yourself to be growing in your faith, I think, is important. And so if we have a tool that we're using, it's like, we can throw that out there. That's good. I feel like, that is a 12-week program, I guess, technically. Yeah. And that's fun. I never thought that spending, I grew up in church, and I got to a point in life in my 20s where I was like, I'm churched out. And so I was like, I didn't know if I'd ever think that spending 12 weeks in like
daily homework and
there's homework involved.
Thought we were done with that.
Yeah, exactly.
12, 15, 20, 30 years ago. I don't know. It's
You're
been
much
a long
older
time.
than us.
Yeah.
I'm not that much older. I don't know. I'll be 37 this year. I will share that with you.
You're a year older than me, so you're not so bad.
Yeah.
I figured we were close. But
I'm the youngest here. I'm the
Tyler's
baby.
12 going on 13. I mean,
Yeah.
But
30.
So rooted though, but rooted. I think it's cool for those that are hearing this. Rooted is the concept of being rooted in Christ, and it's kind of a biblical foundation and truth, but a challenge based upon biblical belief and this reality. It's really cool. I've been through Rooted. Tyler's been through Rooted. Scott, have you been through Rooted? So
I'm not through it yet, though.
So well,
completely.
Tyler's going through it. I should say right now. It is such a fun journey, but it's a journey that I'm going through a second time right now. So there's some insight for you. But
Rooted is what ultimately brought me to the feet of Christ. I mean, my wife and I first started Rooted, neither of us were saved, I guess, would be the word. And she got saved 1 week, and I think 2 or 3 weeks after that is when I finally, surrendered to him. But yeah, it was mid-rooted, I guess. And it's interesting to look back now in my book and just the amount of change and growth from every week would be, help me to understand and feel your presence and this and that. And now, years later, to know that he was always there and just working on me the whole time. It's awesome to look back and read, but to bring it back to, I guess, me wanting to spend time with my family kind of is where I think it was rooted. It might have been, I think it was rooted where, your house, your family is the first ministry. So if they're not getting it from you, they're getting it from somewhere. Someone is raising your kids if it's not you. So if it's public school, if it's private school, if it's the mom, if it's the dad, and we're supposed to be the leaders, the pastors of our home, then the shepherd of our home, then, we need to have that foundation. And if we're not even there to lay the foundation, then who knows what the house gets built upon. It's
slippery slope.
Yeah.
And it's something that it happens a lot. And the song Lead Me, there's a song out there, but
Sanctus Real.
Sanctus Real, yeah. Sanctus Real, Lead Me. And it speaks to a lot of this, and that song has popped up numerous times when I've needed it to, but being a leader outside of my home in a profession, I find takes sometimes that energy. It's mentally exhausting. You go home and you still have to lead, and I think that's a culture problem. And you hit on this earlier, Scott. You talked about kind of the hustle and bustle, the busyness of life. Our hardest job is probably our home job, being at home and doing what we're supposed to be doing, who we're supposed to be doing, and in terms of the type of person, the calling that we have. But we're all at different spots, and I think that. Let me ask you this: do we know, faith, family, right? Then work is kind of a concept that I've grown up around, and so obviously I've got major responsibility at home. Scott, you do. Tyler, your responsibility right now, how does that look?
So I'm the work in progress. I definitely am getting back on my feet. In terms of responsibility, I have less than most people. I try to, if someone, say my grandma or something, needs me around the house or something, I'm available, and so I'm there for her and others that need me. But the severity of my mania led me into a unique situation, and I'll get into it more. But I'm kind of starting from the ground up again. And I'm 30 years old, but in some ways I'm a teenager. And so I can recognize it. It's just getting through the anxiety, getting through the stress that comes with getting back into the workforce after being out of it for a while. Like I spent time in a mental health institute. I've been that person that's been in the hospital for months. And so I have over a year of my life it's an investment. You don't think of it as an investment, but it really is. Like there's doctors there every day, Monday through Friday, that are like checking up on you and stuff like that. And it wasn't like perfect by any means. Mental health institute that I was in was state funded. And so it, which, I mean, it just, I don't want to dog it too much because it led to me getting better. But it also, at the same time, is you're broken. There's other broken people there. They put you in a room together and expect everything to be hunky dory, and it's hard.
Tell us what kind of movies were they watching?
Oh yeah,
this was interesting. I mean, this is very. You think of a broken system. It's like even you think of prisons, right? Like they're not rehabilitating. But listen to this. I don't
know. But I can only speak for what I saw, and I was in a mental health facility, and during October, it's Halloween month, and Sci-Fi Channel runs like Chucky. I mean TNT, like they all do. They're like, here, this is Halloween 3 on tonight at 7 or whatever. And so I'm watching Nightmare on Elm Street, and I vividly remember just like the nightmarish episodes while I'm just waiting in line to get my medicine that night. And so it's like you can't you're either waiting in line for food or waiting in line for medicine. Like the TV is right there, and they do that to keep people occupied, but at the same time you're glued to whatever it is. And I'm sitting there like praying, like, Lord, just please, because mental institutes, a lot of people go visit them when they're abandoned, and like you're like, oh, you hear about all these people have committed suicide and all these things, like, and it's creepy, and they're like, it's not good, and it's not good in a mental health institute when you're living in one. And unfortunately, I had to live in one because of my situation.
I don't understand how it could be helpful for people dealing with psychosis to watch
it,
like psychopaths in a movie murder people.
I don't see how it helped either. Like, it freaked me out because I literally was like there were fights that happened that month, and it's like, Lord, like, just keep me safe. Like, because at that time, like, I was dealing with psychosis and the after effects, but I was getting better. And so just because I was getting better doesn't mean I was cleared.
Sure.
And that kind of, like, once I got better, I snapped into place real quick. But the problem is it took me 2 months to snap in place, if that.
Like, click, and then you're like, oh.
Yeah,
okay.
like, it literally, one of my medicines I take, like, if I stopped taking it, I would be extremely scared because it clicked that much. Like,
so it was like an recognizable thing. You're like, oh,
yeah,
go back to the real world.
Yeah,
like
I was
prodigal son, where he was like in with the pigs and all that stuff. And
yes,
like, oh,
like he clicked.
Yeah, like back to reality.
Yeah,
I can't even imagine. Like, that's not even. I've never heard it explained like that. And I think that's remarkable to hear it like that. And
that's why my fear is what it is, though, too.
So, your fear, and I know you and I have talked about this, and we opened early on with that question about fear, and I know one of your big fears is that, right?
Yeah.
Is having that opposite feeling again. But Tyler, I want to share with you, not only I think is your story all inspiring, or have you been an inspiration, but you're continuing to inspire, and you are a world changer, and you may not know it and see it, and I think Scott probably knows it and sees it. And I'm not saying that because you're sitting across from me, but you're going to make a difference for so many people because of your story and because of who you are through your story. You're not letting your story define you. You're defining through your story, if that makes sense. You're doing so many things. You've impacted me in a short time period. I know I don't want to speak for Scott, but so many people.
Well, it's a crazy story because I guess I knew you kind of by your dad, like through your dad, because he was the leader of our small group, and I only heard, I guess, the bad things, and like only, I guess, the negative things. But knowing you now is how much those bad things don't define you. Like, they're not what I think about now when I talk to you or anything like that. It's completely different from what it was. I guess it was years, 2 years now, a couple years, but it was always just the negative things. And now,
I mean, my dad had a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a negative person for a long time.
Well, you were, and I'll speak on this from a professional standpoint. You were a person that was ill. You were struggling. The first time we met, I met Manic Tyler, and I don't remember Manic Tyler. I remember you, but you know what I mean? I know you. I know Tyler. I remember your mom and dad through that situation, which was, that's just what the story gets so cool just through that and those interactions. But I just think that, one, I think people need to know that about you, that a lot of people are really good about passing judgment and saying, oh, well, you've dealt with this. But no, that it's unbelievable, guys. The more we talk about Tyler's story and all of our stories, I think what we're going to uncover and undig, and it's not all pretty.
Please bear with us.
But please bear with us. So I don't know, guys. I know we're probably coming up here on an hour already. Episode
Somehow,
1,
yeah.
right? Episode 1. So it's been awesome. It's been an awesome first night.
yeah.
So I shared I was a pumpkin spice girl, so I need to know something about you guys related to food and seasonal stuff, because there's got to be something. Like something that you love about the season food-wise. What's your favorite seasonal food?
So mine's not the McRib.
Okay.
Because that's a seasonal.
What about the McFlurry?
So the McFlurry's not seasonal.
But we could say it's
Yeah.
seasonal because Flurry's winter.
Yeah.
I'm stretching.
You are stretching a little bit, but it's okay.
No,
Yoga.
literally my quad. I'm stretching.
Yeah. Yoga.
Mine, I guess, would be apple cider, I guess.
Okay.
It used to be Fireball and apple cider. I was really big on Fireball. I'd always get a liter of Fireball. It'd last me about a week or so.
With apple cider.
Apple cider.
Sounds like some heartburn.
It's
It
good. It was
does.
good. I would just drink Fireball straight, just out of the freezer. Once the apple cider was gone, we'd carve pumpkins. I'd always have Fireball. We'd pass out candy and all that stuff. But it's been,
Yeah.
almost 2 Halloweens now since I've had it.
That's awesome.
I mean, the life improvement, though. I mean, has it, for some people, they put it down and they never miss it. And other people, it's a struggle or it comes back up. What would you say is your where you stand with it, if you don't mind?
Luckily, my wife said it's my personality, but I don't ever struggle with it. Like if someone left a shot of Fireball near me or whatever, or beer or whatever, I wouldn't touch it. But then, there's other people that we both know that struggle with it all the time where, after they cut the grass or when they're sitting around a bonfire, they just be like, man, I wish I just had a beer. But luckily, my personality is not addictive, because I guess it was for a while, because the last year of high school and the first couple years after that, I was, smoking weed, ecstasy, cocaine, acid, shrooms, all this stuff. We'll get into it a different time. But like you were saying, it clicked one day, and I was like, I got to stop doing this. And that was it. Cold turkey, everything. So, and then since then, I haven't done it.
That's awesome.
And it's what,
It's amazing.
06. So it's been 15 years since I've done any of that stuff.
Wow.
But
And that gives like me hope, because like my prodigal son moment is, if we call it that, like just happened a year ago, and like I came back to my senses. And I mean, for you, 15 years, I mean, that's outstanding. And
I've grown so, I guess it's another story for another time of our terrible quirks, but my wife gets on me all the time is I think I've grown so calloused and, I guess a stone heart or whatever, but when people, they want to quit and then they're addictive and all that stuff, and they just can't quit for whatever reason. They just keep going back to it. It's a terrible thing I've got to deal with. I know it's it's medical and all that.
I mean,
stuff.
it can get in like Brent. Like, I mean, I'm sure Joey could tell us more,
Mental,
but like,
everything, but
I mean, it's mental, it's physical. You're breaking a habit.
Mhm.
Like and your body like craves it too, and depending on what it is and stuff like that.
But I mean, the withdrawals were tough, but my problem is if you want to stop doing it bad enough that you'll stop doing it, and I know that's not the case, but
I'm that person. I'm mind over matter, and I meet patients all the time who just give me one more dose, one more drink, and then I'll stop.
Oh,
But it's every time. It's
Yeah.
every time. I've seen them be off for months and years, and they can smell it. They can taste it by hearing it. It's the weirdest thing. And it could be alcohol, it could be drugs, and there's different there's it's sex for some people, right?
Mhm.
It's all pornography, whatever. There's different things, and the people that have those types of personalities, which truly I think is more an addictive personality. There's a struggle. There's a mental illness probably with that, and it's heartbreaking because you see them
people
and
and
you
they
want to
spend their whole life trying to fight an
Yeah.
addiction, and
Yeah.
sometimes it costs them their life. If they would have
Yeah.
just stopped, but
yeah, it's hard, and it's hard because we also were trying to have this conversation about being a pumpkin spice girl, and then
Yeah.
we
talk about
developed into another.
Since we're talking about pumpkin spice, I'm going to call Tyler right out to the table here.
Yeah.
When you go to Starbucks, what is the drink you order?
My current drink of choice has to be a tall blonde,
Yes, and can you tell everyone listening why?
because I had expert advice
From
that
who?
said, from the Joey across the table.
Okay.
Um,
Is he a pretty smart guy?
I'm learning.
Okay.
And
So share why though.
so because Tyler is single, and so Tyler needs to.
Well, but what's a tall
mingle.
blonde at Starbucks?
It's either a coffee
Yeah.
a
or
barista.
a barista.
Yeah,
Yes.
and blonde roast is a phenomenal coffee. And tall, it's the weird sizing, right? But
Yes.
Tyler, what are you hoping for when you order a tall blonde?
A barista at this point. Yeah.
Any preferences?
blonde?
Not venti, triple, whatever.
Jeez.
I don't know what the terms are. I don't go to Starbucks ever. I'm sorry.
Tall blonde female, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And-
but I wanted to tell you, I had an answer to your question. Of,
Oh yeah, we didn't get there, did we?
Yeah, because Scott's
I went
was.
off on a weird.
It's
Yeah.
all right. It went off exactly how it was supposed to.
Yes, Scott. It was a rabbit trail. Scott, can you repeat what yours was? It was
Apple cider.
apple cider
With
Okay.
Fireball. Back in the day.
Without.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Mine is strawberry pie babies from Frisch's.
Oh man, those are good.
Those are good.
So
that
if
sounds
you have
good
a
right now.
Frisch's
Did you
in
get
your-
one tonight? Because you ate at Frisch's tonight, right?
I did.
Did you get a pie, baby?
I did not. I know.
Fighting the addiction.
I'm.
Circle back.
But the strawberries have to be in season though too, because they won't sell them. Like a couple weeks ago, they were selling blueberry pie babies because strawberries aren't in season right now. I'm not sure they're in season yet.
That's awesome though.
Well, Frisch's has
so-
good pumpkin. But you pumpkin pie guy?
Pumpkin pie.
I like pumpkin pie.
Yeah.
Pumpkin pie is good too.
I'm with you on that one, pumpkin pie. But that's everything.
But
else.
strawberry pie, baby, because they have this like glaze over top of it.
Sounds
And
delicious.
that is my seasonal weakness.
Fellas, what do you think? Night one been good?
I think so. It's probably a
All
good
right.
place to wrap up.
Yeah.
So Tyler, give us the honors here. We're gonna ramble on like this probably every week, but what do we ask of everyone?
Please bear with us. All right.
Night, guys.